Good evening. The August 25th meeting of the City Council will come to order. Would the clerk please take the roll?
So today's roll call starts with Councilmember Davis, but we're going to wait to add her to the roll later. Councilmember Rogers?
Here.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Here.
Councilmember Kelly? Councilmember Harris?
Present.
Councilmember Isles?
Here.
Councilmember Newsma?
Here.
Councilmember Burns, I'm not sure if he's going to be here tonight. Councilmember Sufferton? Maribus?
Here. We have a quorum present and are prepared to do our work. We begin with approval of virtual council member participation. It's Councilmember Davis has communicated in writing her need to participate remotely due to a permissible reason. Is there a motion to allow that?
So, second.
Councilmember Hadakaris moves approval of Councilmember Davis's virtual participation. Councilmember Harris seconds. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly? Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
With 7 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries. And for the rest of the evening, Councilmember Davis will be on the roll participating virtually. The next item on the agenda is my public announcements and proclamations, of which there is one proclaiming September 2025 National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. I believe there's no one here to receive the proclamation at this time, but for community awareness, let me share the content of it. Whereas ovarian cancer is the 5th leading cause of cancer deaths of women in the United States and causes more deaths than any other gynecologic cancer. And whereas the American Cancer Society estimates 2,890 cases of ovarian cancer will be newly diagnosed in 2025, and 12,730 individuals will die from the disease nationwide, including 770 new cases and 410 new deaths in Illinois. And whereas in June 2007, the first national consensus statement on ovarian cancer symptoms was developed to provide consistency in describing symptoms to make it easier for women to learn and remember those symptoms. And whereas too many people remain unaware that the symptoms of ovarian cancer often include bloating, pelvic or abdominal pain, difficulty eating or feeling full quickly, urinary symptoms, and several other vague symptoms that are often easily confused with other diseases and conditions. And whereas improved awareness of the symptoms of ovarian cancer by the public and healthcare providers can lead to a quicker diagnosis. And whereas the family history of a woman has been found to play an important role in accurately assessing risk of developing ovarian cancer. And medical experts believe that family history should be taken into consideration during the annual well woman visit of any woman. And whereas women who know that they are at a high risk of ovarian cancer may undertake prophylactic measures such as opportunistic salgingectomy to help reduce the risk of developing this disease. And whereas according to a 2016 consensus report by the National Academy of Medicine, there remain surprising gaps in the fundamental knowledge about and understanding of ovarian cancer across all aspects of the disease. And whereas ongoing investments in ovarian cancer research and education and awareness efforts are critical to closing these gaps and improving survivorship for women with ovarian cancer, now therefore I do hereby proclaim September 2025 as National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Evanston. Each year during the month of September, Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance and community partner organizations hold a number of events to increase public awareness of ovarian cancer and its symptoms. The next item on the agenda is the city manager's public announcements.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, Clerk Mendoza. I have 2 items. First up, we have a MABUS Humanitarian Award. I'd like to ask Joe Moore to come up to the podium, please. Oh, do we want to flip? Okay. We're still waiting for Mr. Moore. So, yes. Okay. Very good. We will switch to, I would like to call up Laurel Sims, who's going to provide a presentation on Urban Farm. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, council members, for having us and to be able to speak about the Urban Farm. My name is Laurel Sims, and I'm the executive director of Evanston Grows. I'm here to speak about the urgent need for a dedicated 1-acre space for a farm at Evanston. Each year this project is delayed means over 20,000 pounds of food, of fresh produce, is not reaching families in need. As many as 1 in 6 families in Evanston quietly struggle to afford access of fresh, healthy food, even if our neighborhoods don't look food insecure. Last year, Evanston Grows, through our 3 free farm stands and 3 food pantries, served over 10,000 customers fresh produce. According to the Public Affairs Research Poll released on August 4th, 2025, 86% of American adults report that the cost of groceries is a source of stress, and now 53% are saying that it causes major stress to their financial and family obligations. At our 3 free farm stands this year, we've noticed that demand has skyrocketed due to inflation and tariffs. Wholesale vegetable prices are up 40% from last year. And with the elimination of the free produce market, more residents are relying on us to be able to feed their families. Lines are longer, and distribution is ending 20 to 30 minutes early, not because people stopped coming, but because we're running out of food. Over the last 2 years, we've looked at over 15 plus farm sites or potential farm sites and had 5 community meetings. At the newest site that we've held 2 community meetings with at Ingram Park, we believe we have what we hope is a majority of folks who are supporting the farm. We believe that we have the expertise and the community support to make this farm a success. Through a neighbor-led petition, many of those neighbors are here tonight to speak about it. Over 150 people have signed it in favor of a new farm in Ingram Park. What we need now from the council is clarity on the process moving forward. What are the parameters for sufficient support to be able to engage the urban farm? How much of the neighborhood should be consulted? What is the parameters of the map for folks who are using Ingram Park, which is a community park, to be able to say who should be voting on it? And is it possible for constituents within a perimeter to formally vote for or against the farm? Every season we wait means that more food insecure and fewer opportunities for residents to access fresh local produce. We are asking for a clear path so this community-driven farm can finally come into being. Thank you so much for your support and consideration.
Thank you very much. And without further ado, we'll ask Joe Moore to come up to the podium.
Thank you, Manager Stowe, Mayor Bliss, council members of the City of Evanston. My name is Joe Moore. I'm here with Illinois Task Force 1 in Mavis, Illinois. I'm here with Pat Harden, who will introduce himself as well. We're here to present the Mavis Humanitarian Award. First of all, we'd like to present it to the City of Evanston and the Evanston Fire Department. Mavis, Illinois is a Type 1 urban search and rescue team, which usually has 80 people go out the door for disasters. This time when we went to Texas, we had a team of 39. In order to go out the door, we had to have 29 different agencies throughout Illinois help support that effort to go out the door. The team itself is made up of 200 members from 62 different agencies, and those members are from Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, and Wisconsin. So it's with the effort of departments and villages and cities from around Illinois that we exist. So the first thing we need to do is acknowledge the assistance from the Evanston Fire Department and the City of Evanston for us to be able to deploy a team. So the first award is to them for an appreciation of your support of Mavis Task Force 1 Urban Search Rescue Team's deployment to Texas in the response to the flash flood disaster in July of 2025. I'd like to present this to Mayor Bliss, Manager Stowe, and the Council of Evanston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Patrick Harden with Illinois Task Force 1. I'm the Operations Chief. And I want to say thank you very much for the support of MABUS. We've got 3 members on the team, all of them exceptional, hardworking individuals. Brief story about Nico. He came on, he's a youngster, and he came on the team. And I tell you, he's wise many years before himself. It's unbelievable the things that he's done in a short period of time. He came on, applications were December 23. He started in January. He slowly came around, and every time he's there, he's working hard, nonstop. What he did down in Texas was unbelievable conditions. He worked through logistics is his calling. It was fantastic. All the work that he did, any task was thrown to him, he performed at a high level. So once again, he's wise beyond his years, and can't say thanks enough. So the only thing, I talked to the manager that was down there with him. He said the only thing, he's such a hard worker, he needs help with only reaching the top shelf to get stuff off. So he's unbelievable work, and I want to say thank you very much. So with that, I'm going to start with the award. Would you mind stepping up, please? Okay, this is the MABUS Award, and it's a humanitarian service medal. So this is to certify that the Presidents of Mutual Aid Box Alarm System has authorized by executive direction and order to be awarded Humanitarian Service Medal, Flood Disaster, State of Texas, Response and Relief Effort to Nico Stefani, Illinois Task Force 1, for outstanding and sustained individual and team actions for the period of July 2025 in service within the State of Texas Flash Flood Disaster Response and Relief Effort. From MABUS, thank you very much for your efforts and your accomplishments. Picture with the family.
How about one more round of applause? Thank you all for being here with us tonight, and outstanding work, Nico. Thank you.
I just want to quickly, first of all, add my personal congratulations and thank you to Nico for the remarkable work. And just a quick shout out to MABUS, right? I mean, I think we all feel extremely strongly about the quality of work of our fire department. They do remarkable things on a regular basis. But we're still a small town, and that need for collaboration across municipal borders is absolutely essential. And so the partnership with that MABUS enables is really important for public safety in this community, and we're of course happy to help elsewhere as well. So thank you so much to all of you. Next item on the agenda is communications from the city clerk.
I just forwarded a few public comments over too about Popeyes, and then two in support of the farm at Ingram Park. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is public comment. This evening we have just under 25 people signed up, so everyone will be given 2 minutes. We begin as always with those who signed up in person to speak in person, beginning with Linda Hauser, who will be followed by Ian Tenderholt, and then Judith Campbell.
Good evening, thank you. I'm here again to talk about the status of Evanston Special Olympics. The last time I was here, a number of us had spoke about trying to get Leonard Woodson, our treasured coach, back. Well, the mayor and the council, with the exception of Ms. Kelly, thank you, showed little regard for our feelings, and the feelings of us and our athletes. So you basically put it in the hands of Mr. Stowe. So I'm here tonight to address Mr. Stowe because the buck apparently stops with you. We parents of Evanston Special Olympians are not going away anytime soon. We appeared at a Parks and Rec meeting last Thursday and left a list of outstanding issues that we as parents of athletes who have been involved in Special Olympics, myself for over 30 years, know need to be addressed. They included things like job postings, which we were promised but haven't been done, questions about certification of coaches, which are critical so that our kids get the right amount of skills that they need when they're competing. And one critical issue that needs to be addressed quickly is who's going to be our contact person for Northwestern Special Olympics. They need to know, obviously, what volunteers are required, but they provide our athletes with opportunities for tickets, playing on the court during halftime at basketball games, meeting players, evening and afternoon movie and pizza dates. So since, Mr. Stowe, you have the buck now, we assume you're responsible for getting those questions answered. And of course, I'll just make the comment one more time that we wouldn't have any of these issues, of course, if Mr. Woodson was still here. We were promised that job postings would be made for coaches specified in specific sports and for an accessible recreation program coordinator for Special Olympic and camps. That would happen this week. It did not happen last week, and it has not happened yet today. We were reassured that I'm sure you're only looking for the best possible candidates, but it's hard to do that when you can't even develop a job description. Is that 2 minutes? Oh, sorry. So just want to make it clear that this has fallen squarely in your lap, and we will continue to look for you to solve the problems that we still continue to have, and we're not going away anytime soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Ian Tenderholt, who will be followed by Judith Campbell, and then Jean Fies.
Hi. Thank you all. I appreciate the time today, and thanks for all you do. I know you hear a lot, and there's a lot of discourse, and it's sometimes a thankless job. So first, I appreciate it. I'm here for the urban farm. More specifically, with the ballot initiative, this was ranked choice voted by the folks, and third on the list was the urban farm. And the key missing component, unfortunately, in that ballot initiative was the location. And, as you'll probably hear from a lot of folks here, that has been an issue of contention. First and foremost, I want to say I'm sympathetic to Evanston Grove's cause. I've had the opportunity to meet with them multiple times, as have a lot of my neighbors, and they're good people. They mean well, and they're trying to do the best for the community. Unfortunately, at this point, I think it's the chosen location, or one that's been focused on, is Ingram Park. And, as currently contemplated, you guys are, I'm sure, very familiar with the space, given where City Hall was. And, the current contemplated zoning, if you will, is that big tree in the middle, kind of over, running east to west, would all be urban farm. This is a problem for a lot of reasons. One, it undemocratizes the space, whereby kids use it, adults use it. There's knitting clubs, there's lacrosse, there's a whole multitude of things now. There would be one purpose for it. Two, it doesn't contemplate the density in the future, and it will have a distinct lack of accommodation for when there's more folks in the Civic Center. And candidly, a lot of the neighbors are opposed. I'd encourage you guys to drive the area. There's a lot of signs out. By my count, over 50% of the houses, and we ran out of signs. To close, though, because I know I'm running out of time, the key that I want to emphasize is, while speed is important, it's very important to get it right. And there's a couple alternate locations. First, the parcel immediately adjacent south of the Civic Center is prime, and I can just send you an email on that. And then also with the school closures, there is potential for a lot of other locations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Judith Campbell, who will be followed by Jean Fies, and then Brittany Mabry.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Biss. My name is Judith Campbell. I am a resident of the 2nd Ward. I'm here tonight to speak about the benefits of an urban farm in the neighborhood. There is so much joy in having an Evanston Grows farm as a neighbor. I can tell you this from firsthand experience because I live directly across the alley from Ward Farm, a half-acre farm run by Evanston Grows. My top 4 reasons. Number 1 is urban farms. It is to have it in your neighborhood. It is a beneficial and diverse ecological environment full of native pollinators. Number 2. It is aesthetically pleasing with rows of maturing crops and flowers blooming. 3, it provides educational experiences, both for our children to discover and appreciate how food grows and for adults to witness with delight in the wonders of the earth. 4, as a neighbor, it feels good to be involved in caring for others. We are creating a community where those who have plenty are helping those in need. Is that not what we want for Evanston?
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Jean Fies, who will be followed by Brittany Mabry and then Miles Mabry.
Good evening, Mayor Biss and council members. I'm here tonight to ask for your help in finalizing a site for the Evanston Farm, the 3rd highest vote getter in the 2023 participatory budgeting election. Currently, Ingram Park is the proposed location, and at the city's request, we have done due diligence in reaching out to the community and have buy-in. The majority of responses we've received for Ingram are positive. There are also some who are vocally opposed. I could detail at length the past 2 years of extensive hours of outreach, conversations, investigations, community engagement meetings, and Evanston Grows staff time invested in trying to identify a site. To say it has been frustrating is an understatement. We haven't received clear guidelines for procedures and timelines for this project, nor do we understand how much buy-in from a neighborhood is required to move the project forward. This farm is an amenity for residents of Evanston. Its environmental, health, educational, and community engagement benefits are too numerous to mention. The 1-acre farm will produce thousands of pounds of fresh produce to help meet the need at Evanston Grows farm stands, Evanston partner food pantries, and beyond. We ask for quick action in approving the Ingram site or identifying an alternative viable site that can quickly meet with council's approval. The funds expire next year, and this project requires that amount of time to install. So we need your help and immediate action, and thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Brittany Mabry, who will be followed by Miles Mabry and then Emily Miller.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. Evanston Grows has spoken to the importance of the project and the urgency of moving this project forward so that we're not missing out on another growing season for people who need this food. But I want to speak as a neighbor who lives right by Ingram Park in support of this project and urging the council to let Evanston Grows know what the process is going to be to move this forward. While there are some neighbors who are opposed, we do have a strong majority of folks in the neighborhood who do support having this urban farm right there in Ingram Park. There would be programming for youth and adults. It would retain 2/3 of the park, which is 2 whole acres, for those other activities that my neighbor mentioned earlier, like knitting clubs, sports, other kinds of gatherings. 2 acres to still do those activities and just 1 acre for the farm itself. But the farm would also be an opportunity for us to come together and grow community, which I think is really important and something that actually is currently lacking in our park. So This is an opportunity for us to have more, not less. There would be volunteer and internship opportunities. There would be opportunities for education and more visual interest, more pollinator-friendly plants than the grass that's there would currently offer. This is classified as a community park, not a neighborhood park, so I think that's important as well, that yes, we have a lot of supportive folks who live by Ingram Park, but this would be something that benefits the entire Evanston community, and I think that's something that we should also keep in mind. Evanston Grows has vetted a lot of locations over the past 2 years. They have determined that this is a site that would meet their needs, and it's an opportunity for us in our neighborhood to see this project move forward and to have this available to folks in our neighborhood.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Miles Mabry, who will be followed by Emily Miller, and then Ann McMahon.
Hello. Thanks. I'm here to speak in support of the urban farm at Ingram Park. Simply, Ingram Park is a community park, and we should use it for the community's benefits. I'm proud that the 5th Ward has been chosen to donate 1/3 of the open grass space to produce production education programs, and I would gladly welcome their addition to the neighborhood.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Emily Miller, who will be followed by Ann McMahon, and then Laura DeRemo.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name's Emily Miller. I live across the street from Ingram Field, and I am a member of the 5th Ward community. I am here to voice my strong support of Evanston Grows and Ingram Field. My family and I know the park intimately. My children play there every day. I would say they are #1 users of the field. With the trees, the rain garden, we know it well. There is plenty of space for a park and both the other interests that the field is currently used for, such as disc golf, lacrosse, and soccer. It would only take about 1/3 of the park. The rest would be open field, where a soccer field is now, actually. The other thing I want to note is that the park is a community park. I don't think living adjacent next to a park gives you more of a voice of the park's use. It's not private property, it's for the public, and it should be used as how the public intends. Speaking about democracy, this was voted in a high engagement participatory budget. The city of Evanston community members would like Evanston Grows, and if we can welcome it to our ward, we'd be all the better. The last note is the benefits of urban farming for community resilience in the face of climate change, food insecurity, and everything we face at a national and state political level just cannot be overstated. They offer food, rainwater retention for local flooding, pollinators, anything you could think of. The environmental benefits are clear. And just to reiterate, there is plenty of space for personal sport use and farming at the same park. It's pretty much empty all the time, if I'm being honest. Anyways, full support. Go Evanston Grows. My kids are here. They love it. We want it. We're all in.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Ann McMahon, who will be followed by Laura DeRemo, and then Larry Akey.
Thank you for having us. Let's see, can you hear me? Yeah. I'm one of the founders of Evanston Grows. And, wrote this down. How did I? Oh, okay. Thank you for having us. I'm one of the founders of Evanston Grows, and I have seen how our farms have grown community, as well as giving amazing organic produce to those who need it. Our farms are beautiful and appreciated by the neighborhoods. We need to go forward with this farm that folks have voted for. Thank you.
The next speaker is Laura DeRemo, who will be followed by Larry Akey, and then David Elsie.
Mayor Biss, City Manager Stowe, council members, thank you for having us. My name's Laura DeRemo. I live at 1317 Chancellor Street in the 7th Ward of Evanston. And I'm coming before you today to express a concern that I have about the safeguards that are in place around the lighting protocols during practices and NU's application for the softball field renovation. I believe it's agenda item P6. I would have been present at the last meeting but was out of town. In general, there appear to be very thoughtful and neighborhood considerate parameters in much of the application as it pertains to the music and the sound and the noise levels and the hours of operations, and I thank you for this. It's much appreciated. As you know, we are going through it up in my neck of the woods, and the event schedule, once the stadium is up and running, will be most likely quite challenging for us as neighbors. Currently, there are no evening softball practices. There's nor any lights, and there never have been for as long as I can remember, as long as I've lived here, which is 1987. As the proposed ordinance is currently written, it appears that softball practices could occur any evening with lights until 9 p.m. This would be a significant and disturbing change for our neighborhood. Please understand that the sound from the open-air field resonates loud and clear through the neighborhood. And although the lights may not be shining in our homes, they will be clearly visible and seen by all. If you would kindly consider restricting evening and or nighttime practices, essentially keeping things as they are, that would be much appreciated. As I mentioned previously, we will be under a much more aggressive event schedule once the stadium is up and running, and without some protection on this front, it will become yet another invasion of our outdoor evening space. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Larry Akey, who will be followed by David Elsie and then Tricia Connolly.
Mayor Biss, members of the council, I'm Larry Akey. I live at 1814 Dempster in Ward 2. I'm here tonight on behalf of Sojourning Meditation Center, doing business as Heartwood Center for Body, Mind, Spirit. I'm here to talk about the proposed Popeyes at the corner of Dempster and Dodge. First, I want to begin by thanking the city staff for rescinding the Type 1 certificate for Popeyes as a full-service sit-down restaurant, something that I think all of us recognize was simply an attempt to game the system. I do want to say that I didn't realize that fried chicken could ever get this hot. From the very beginning, all that we've ever really wanted was to have an opportunity to express our point of view. I can't help but note that if the city staff and the applicant had acceded to our request in June to put this through the special use process, we would be close to resolution rather than at the beginning of the process. Having said that, I do want to thank the city staff for recognizing the importance of giving us the opportunity for public input. I think that as we go through this process, there are 4 reasons why ultimately this council will need to reject the Popeyes application. First, it doesn't comply with existing plans, particularly the Thrive initiative. Second, there's a problem of traffic and parking. Third, there's the impact on local businesses, not only our organization, a Tibetan Buddhist church, but also on businesses like Specs and others. And finally, I think that there's the issue of, do we want to have fast food restaurants spread throughout the city of Evanston? Over the course of the next couple of meetings, I'll be back before you to expand on each of these points. Obviously, we'll litigate the issue fully in front of the Land Use Commission, Planning and Development, and then back before you at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is David Elsie, who will be followed by Tricia Connolly and then Cecilia Wallen.
Good evening. It's my first time to be in front of any of you and all of you, and it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm a new resident to a certain degree of Evanston, and there's something I feel about Evanston which I think is very important, which is I come from another suburb. And one of the things I feel about Evanston is there's something very special in this room through all of you and your work and the public. There's a deep care for the residents of Evanston. It doesn't want to be just another suburb. And for that, I can feel that, and I'm grateful for being here. One One of my concerns about having I'm thinking about the order of my presentation, but I'm also interested in not having Popeyes on that corner at Dodge and Dempster. And I'll tell you why. That quality I just mentioned about Evanston feels very real. And I would hate for the care for Evanston and its residences to be turned over to another fast food restaurant. We know enough research already that chronic illness is very easy to come by with saturated fats and high levels of sugar. And I would like Evanston to be caring about its residences from this viewpoint as well, which means mental health, physical health, spiritual well-being. I was at Heartwood first when the Buddhist monks came that were from the sect of the Dalai Lama. And I was really moved by Heartwood. And I go back and I study there in the Buddhist texts and scriptures on the nights that they offer that. So it's been a spiritual center for me in many ways, and Evanston for 26 years. Having its corner have food that's healthy, that serves the spirit, the body, the well-being of people, feels really like it would be fitting for that corner, as opposed to a fast food restaurant, which the congestion already is very heavy there at certain hours. I'd hate to have more cars coming in and more cars coming out. So in short, the specialness of this town and Evanston and each of you feels like it's a valuable thing to consider when you think about bringing another fast food in restaurant. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Tricia Connolly, who will be followed by Cecilia Wallen, and then Annie Steinbach.
Good evening, Mayor Biss and members of the City Council. My name is Tricia Conley. I live in the 2nd Ward. I'm here just to do a quick recap about Popeye's application in the 2nd Ward. Personal opinion, this situation to me has been ridiculous from the start. And I believe it's upon all of you, our elected officials, our city council, to get to the bottom of it. We learned about Popeyes from reading it in the press. The only other place one could find information was in the city manager's report. Really? That's it? That's acceptable? No longer do we have a dapper design and review commission, so therefore nothing gets posted on a place that's going to do something different from what's allowed. So here we are as members of the community on our own with that. We gathered, petitioned, and emailed, and we asked our Councilmember Harris, to add to the ward meeting agenda. What's concerning to me is after I FOIA'd documents from the city, it was said by a city staff member in response to the ward meeting, we will determine whether this continues as an administrative review or escalates to a special use permit review based on the discussion. I see nothing in our city code that says by having a ward meeting and trying to figure out how people feel, it will be decided where this goes. If that is so, then please put it in the code. I am concerned, and I'm also confused by that. Another very concerning part to this was that the applicant was switching from a type 2 application to a type 1 after we said that we were going to appeal. I find it hard to believe this was something he did on his own. I'm sorry, the corporation that owns Popeyes doesn't have any type 1 restaurants in the United States. So I'm concerned about this. Lastly, it's on you to hold our city manager accountable and get this figured out and fix it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Cecilia Wallen, who will be followed by Annie Steinbach and then Ken Prosky.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Wallen. I'm in Ward 4, and I'm also speaking on Special Olympics. The City of Evanston continues to demonstrate a lack of understanding regarding what has been lost with regard to Mr. Woodson's termination and its effect on accessible rec and Special Olympics programming. As you've just heard, the city has shown little urgency in filling the position. Mr. Woodson's termination began over a month ago, and no job listings for a Special Olympics coordinator or for additional certified coaches have been posted. Parenting a child with a disability, it's been over 30 years now. I'm well aware of how difficult it is to fill these positions, how few people are truly qualified and dedicated to work with these individuals. You have a lot of work finding somebody to do that, and I think we need to move on it, please. The city's poor transition planning and failing to see the disruption Mr. Woodson's termination would cause has resulted in families having little confidence in how accessible rec and Special Olympics programming will be managed going forward. At Thursday's Rec and Parks Board meeting, parents spoke and submitted a long list of issues that have yet to be considered or addressed. In response, Ms. Thompson stated, "We lost one coach, but we have 18 other excellent coaches." We do have other excellent coaches. We do. But her comment failed to acknowledge the exceptional skills and experience Mr. Woodson brought to the program. It fails to acknowledge the athlete's loss and grief, and it is dismissive of parents' ongoing concerns. The city has much work to do to assure families that this exemplary program will run smoothly and continue to serve its participants and Special Olympic athletes at the highest level. We appreciate the letter. We know we're being acknowledged, but we need more than just words. We want to continue to participate, and yes, you're going to be held accountable. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Annie Steinbach, who will be followed by Ken Prosky, and then Linnea Latimer.
Participatory budgeting allowed people in Evanston who live here, work here, study to think about how we want to spend $3 million to address the city's needs, to make government policy more equitable, and to train future leaders like Maeve here. It is no surprise that Evanston Grows won over 3,000 votes and $350,000. We've heard here tonight that the initial voting did not specify a location. However, there was an exhaustive search pursuing multiple locations before they reached Ingram Park, which is just a block away from where we live. We've also heard that this is going to take 1 acre, leaving 2 acres untouched to accommodate the existing needs, whether they are sports or events. We've also heard that it fits the needs for a farm because it is flat, it's in the sun, but it's also a community park. And this is something that I learned along the way, that in Evanston we have neighborhood parks and community parks. And while the majority, over 200 acres, are neighborhood parks, there's 63 acres that are community parks, like Ingram Park. And that means that it's not just for us who happen to live right there, it is for everybody. And that is why I hope we can make this happen. We said the goal of participatory budgeting was to address the city's needs, make government policy more equitable, and to train future leaders. And if we want to do that, and if we want to take the proposals like Evanston Grows and the urban farm, then as neighbors, we need to start saying yes in my backyard. We have over 150 people who have signed a petition saying, yes, we want this, we're excited for this, not only for the joy and the benefit that it could bring, but also for the 25,000 pounds of food that it can grow for people who are in need of food assistance. We hope that you will also support this farm so that we can make this a reality and bring these processes that are amazing for Evanston, whether it's participatory budgeting or letting people submit proposals, actually make those a reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Ken Prosky, who will be followed by Linnea Latimer, and then Laurel Sims.
Good evening, Mayor Biss and members of the City Council of Evanston. I'm Ken Prosky from the 7th Ward. I live immediately adjacent to the new Ryan Field and the proposed softball stadium. I'm here on behalf of myself and several of my neighbors who couldn't make it to talk about item P6 and ordinance 47025, which relates to the proposed women's softball stadium. I wanted to be here at the last meeting, but I was out of town. And so I know I could have been made some good comments a long time ago, but I wasn't able to. I'll start out by saying I support the project, and I'm very appreciative of the various residential safeguards that are already specified in the ordinance. However, I strongly oppose the use of nighttime lighting during practice sessions. There have never been any lights at the facility except for temporary portable lights during a handful of postseason NCAA tournament games. In fact, the team has thrived and won multiple Big Ten titles without the need for nighttime practice and lighting. Now, in the proposed ordinance as it's written, permanent lighting will be installed and night practices will be allowed on any day till 9 p.m. for 3 months per year. Northwestern's own design documents claim that the light level at the residential boundaries will only reach 1/10 of a foot candle. However, multiple credible websites state that 1/10 of a foot candle is equivalent to 10 full moons. To me, this seems bright enough to be quite intrusive to adjacent property. Lighting will be very noticeable to us sitting or shining through our windows and interfering with the peaceful use and enjoyment of our property. Northwestern's own documents indicate that practice sessions are normally done by 7 p.m. And therefore, we are requesting that in item 1A of section 5 of the proposed ordinance that you not allow the practices to occur after 7 p.m. In fact, we would prefer there not be any lights for nighttime practices at all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Linnea Latimer, who will be followed by Laurel Sims and then Lisa Applegate.
Good evening, council members, mayor. I am Linnea Latimer. I was born and raised in Evanston's 5th Ward, and I still live here today by choice and by my commitment to create solutions and solve problems. I proudly serve on the board of directors for Evanston Grows. We are in a moment of real uncertainty. The economy is unstable, grocery prices continue to rise, and we are already seeing the effects of cuts made under the current administration. Cuts that will hit programs in our communities rely on. And with this uncertainty, we don't know what support systems will be left standing in the coming years. It may look like we're targeting the 5th Ward, and we are. Not only is this a historically underserved community, but it's also where Evanston Grows currently operates our food stands. This is where we already show up week after week to provide fresh produce and connect with families. Most of the residents who benefit from our work live in or near this ward. For those who don't know, the 5th Ward is a food desert. It's one of the few areas in Evanston where there is no full-service grocery store within easy walking distance, and where many households lack the resource to travel far for fresh food. And we're trying to meet people where they are in their space because we believe they deserve to have access to healthy foods close to home. And you also need to understand that the urban farm, is not a quick project. It doesn't happen overnight. So we're not talking to rush this project through because we need to spend the funds, but this type of project takes time. So we have the funding, we have the people, we have the commitment, but we need a space. And that's why I'm here tonight, because I believe in our mission, and I'm here to ask for your help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Laurel Sims, who will be followed by Lisa Applegate and then Kate Drohan. Oh. The next speaker then is Lisa Applegate, who will be followed by Kate Drohan.
Hi, Mayor Biss, City Council, thank you for your time. I've been a resident of Evanston for 15 years, 1 block from the Dumpster Dodge intersection. I've been a member of the Heartwood Sangha for even longer. Sangha, by the way, is just another word for church or worship community. I'm speaking tonight both as a resident and a member of the Heartwood community because for me, those are intertwined. I found the Sangha before it moved to the Dempster location because I was seeking an opportunity to grow as a person, connect to a higher sense of purpose, build community, and understand the importance of contributing to the greater good. These are the same goals as people from all faith traditions, and Heartwood has met those needs for me. Our Sangha gathers 3 times a week, as well as weekend retreats and social gatherings. We are not, as one misguided resident said, a paper church. Heartwood is the same as any faith community in Evanston. It helps individuals grow, builds community, and improves the area in which it's located. And that leads me to being a resident of the 2nd Ward. When Heartwood moved to the Dempster location, it had been a foreclosed building with bullet holes in the windows. The Heartwood team not only created a beautiful space for healthcare workers to help their patients, they also improved the housing around the building. They were key in bringing Kurt's Cafe and then the very successful Zentley restaurant. They provide free care for those in need, including women with cancer, as well as many other programs. Because of Heartwood, I feel comfortable that my daughter walks to high school and that I walk to the pet food store. I worry about the congestion in the area if Popeyes comes, as well as what other businesses might fill the other half of that building. You might view the addition of a fast food restaurant to be trivial. However, the failure to be transparent in this process is important to my church, to the Dempster Dodge area, and to city residents who want to have faith in their elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Kate Drohan.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Kate Drohan. I've been the softball coach at Northwestern since 2001 and a resident of the 7th Ward since 2018. And I just thank you for giving me a couple minutes to give you some additional information about the proposed softball renovations. I also think it's worth noting that my daughter had her first day at Haven today. She loved it, and we're looking forward to continuing to be good neighbors to those adjacent to us and practice at 2 o'clock in the afternoon as often as possible so I can be home with my family. Here's some context to our project. We have the worst field in the conference, and we've had pretty good success despite of it. We've won 3 of the last 4 Big Ten championships and been to the World Series 6 times. And we've been working for 10 years on this project to both design a stadium that works within that footprint, but also to fundraise for it. And we're finally at that point now where we have both of those things in place. And we're trying to be really thoughtful and intentional with the timing of these upgrades so that we can both start and finish our project within the time frame of the Ryan Field project, so that we won't add any additional inconveniences to our neighbors. We're also really working hard to provide our women with the same experience that many of our male counterparts have on campus, and to close that gender equity gap within our program. Timing is critical right now. I think if we delay this project anymore, it will cause our season this spring to have to be played elsewhere. And our student athletes will have to play 14 weeks on the road. So that's why that timing piece is so critical for us right now to get going so that we can play in our home field. But again, I just thank you so much for the work and the consideration that you've put in this project and the support for our women in terms of really bringing this project to the finish line. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. This concludes the list of people who signed up in person to speak in person. Now we move to those who signed up online to speak in person, beginning with Michael O'Malley, who will be followed by Morgan Meredith, and then Therese McGuire.
Hello, my name is Michael O'Malley. I've been an Evanston resident for 9 years. About a week ago, I became aware of a video that took place just around the corner in front of Valley Lane Bank at the bus station. It was, I think, on August 13th. During this interaction, 2 First Amendment auditors were arrested by police officers. I became very concerned because when I saw the video of the arrest, the police officer waved his firearm in front of, I guess, innocent bystanders, people at the bus station. I'm going to send the video to you guys. I hope you guys take a look at it. I understand there's protocols to deal with this, but I'm here. I'm in a lot of pain. I don't like walking. And I'm here just to tell you guys whatever happened at that bus stop, whatever aggression was shown by the officer, whatever stifling of the First Amendment that took place there needs to be remedied now. Because if you have a bunch of First Amendment auditors seeing that video, seeing that arrest, they're going to come here. And when they come here, they're going to cause a lot of problems for the police. And it's not their fault. They're not the problem. How we interact as a city, 9 years I've been welcoming the people who've been here. Having people come to our town, our downtown, and be thrown to the ground, it was highly inappropriate. And I really hope that we can use this as a learning example, stifle what's going to be coming in the future, because the second the internet finds out about what happened there, if you've seen in Connecticut, there's been a big story where First Amendment auditors had police fired for their aggression. So I hope you take that into advisement. I'll forward the video to whoever I have to. Is there somebody? Clerk? All right. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope we can nip this in the bud, because what I saw scares me, because I could have been a bystander. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Morgan Meredith, who will be followed by Therese McGuire and then Christine Bray.
Good evening, everyone. I'm an Evanston resident living in the 7th Ward near the site of the proposed urban farm in Ingram Park, and I'm here to speak in support of it. As we learned earlier this evening, 1 in 6 Evanston residents is experiencing food insecurity. These are our neighbors and your constituents. Food insecurity will no doubt be worsened with the Trump administration's recent cuts to Medicaid and SNAP. The urban farm will produce 20,000 pounds of food annually. From what I've seen, detractors are a vocal minority. It's true, the urban farm feels like an inconvenience to some people. But remember, 1 in every 6 Evanstonians are hungry. This includes kids. We and you owe it to them to contribute to solving that problem. Let's please consider and prioritize the needs of the many over the preferences of the few. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Therese McGuire, who will be followed by Christine Bray.
Hello, thank you, and good evening. My name is Therese McGuire. I'm a professor at the Kellogg School of Management, where I teach a course called Public Economics for Business Leaders, State and Local Policy. The City Council will consider next month whether to enact a local sales tax on grocery purchases at the 1% rate. This is to replace the current state-imposed tax, which is scheduled to be eliminated as of January 1 of 2026. Retail sales taxes, including on purchases of groceries, are regressive, meaning that taxes paid as a share of income are higher for lower income households than for higher income households. Because of the regressivity of retail sales taxes, many jurisdictions with these taxes exempt purchases of groceries from the tax base. When I teach my students about the principles of taxation and we evaluate various taxes using those principles, we conclude that exempting purchases of groceries from the retail sales tax is not good tax policy. The first reason for this is that it's a blunt instrument for dealing with regressivity. Rich households, as well as poor households, receive the exemption. Also, purchases of luxury food items are exempt along with purchases of basic food items. Also, food purchased at restaurants is not exempt from the retail sales tax. Thus, when low-income families purchase restaurant meals, they pay the sales tax. The second reason why it's not good tax policy is that very poor households are already exempt from paying the retail sales tax because groceries purchased with SNAP are not taxed. The final criterion that we note is that exempting food from the retail sales tax narrows the base of that tax, which results in a higher sales tax rate needed to maintain any given level of revenue. Also, a narrowed sales tax becomes more unstable over the business cycle. I had a few more points, but I will stop right there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Christine Bray.
All right. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing today? I'll take that as a yes, that you're doing great. I think during the housing discussions, which I understand are not going on tonight, but I'm giving you all a homework assignment for when the housing discussions continue within the Evanston Comp Plan. I've been really concerned about a lot of the things that have been said, whether by members of the public or by folks up on the dais, where maybe it's speculation or maybe it's assertions that are just going unchallenged. I wanted to address two of those tonight. I have a lot more. If you gave me 2 hours and a laptop, I could just keep going. But there was a claim made that the history of zoning is progressive. Zoning is a progressive idea. Zoning is something that was created as a progressive ideal. So the first zoning code in America was created in 1916. Here's my source if anybody wants to borrow it. In New York City, where they put a height cap on skyscrapers. And they did that so that they couldn't build more skyscrapers. And the reason that that was instituted was because the skyscraper owners were going like, hey, when new ones get built, our rents go down. So we don't like losing money to these new skyscrapers. So we need to institute a cap that says that you can't build new skyscrapers. I'm sure there's no parallel today where we're banning things from being built and it's raising rents. The second zoning code was actually also in 1916, a few months later. And it was instituted by a real estate developer of a subdivision in Berkeley, California. That subdivision was all white. And it was instituted to, again, maintain high property value. So I want to push back on that idea that zoning is fundamentally progressive because that's the history of zoning. Doesn't seem very progressive to me. Another one is housing filtering. I didn't bring research papers on this, but there have been papers where they look at census data from the entire country of Sweden, the entire country of Norway, most of the large metro areas, right? Different papers, different areas. And housing filtering is real. So it was said that that's not real. It's pretty easily proven by just looking at actual census data, right? This is not a hypothetical. This is something we can very empirically prove. So just wanted to push back on those two. Again, I could keep going, but thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes this evening's public comment. I want to apologize. I omitted something earlier in the evening. I was going to make a comment at the end of the presentation on the urban farm during the city manager's announcements, just to share my own view, which is that certainly it is true that the referendum did not name a location, and I am personally completely location agnostic. However, the referendum also existed, and in so doing constituted a promise made by this body to the community. And I think we got to make good on that promise. And so I hope that we can work quickly with all the relevant stakeholders to reach a resolution that results in us moving forward with the location as we promised the community we would in a referendum that's now a couple years old. And of course, I don't have any monopoly on, if any others want to speak to that as well. Again, I meant to say that earlier and I just got carried away by all the firefighters. Okay, so we now move on to the consent agenda. I've got a long list of things already to be removed. Item A15, item A26 for potential introduction and action, items P3 and P4, which didn't make it out of committee at all, item P5 for potential introduction and action, and item FB1, which is a discussion only. So just to repeat the ones that are already removed, A15, A26, P3, P4, P5, FB1. What else do folks want to remove?
A2 and A7.
You add P6 to that.
Okay, so I just added A2, A7, and P6.
A19.
A19. Just to read what we have so far, it's A2, A7, A15, A19, A26, P3, P4, P5, P6, and FB1. Anything else? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move the consent agenda, which does not include items A2, A7, A15, A19, A26, P3, P4, P5, P6, and FB1.
Second.
Councilmember Newsma moves the consent agenda with the following exceptions: A2, A7, A15, A19, A26, P3, P4, P5, P6, and FB1. Councilmember Harris, I believe, second. Is that correct? Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly? Councilmember Harris? Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
And Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
With 8 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and the consent agenda with the 10 exceptions previously read is approved. On item A2 now, is there a motion?
I'll move approval of item A2.
Second.
Councilmember Hadakaris moves approval of BMO Harris Amazon credit card activity. Councilmember Newsma seconds. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly? Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
I abstain.
With 7 voting in favor, none voting against, and 1 abstention, the motion carries and the credit card activity is approved. Now on item A7, Councilmember Sufferton, do you have a motion?
Sure. I move item A7, which is approval of a contract with Carrier Corporation for the police fire headquarters chiller replacement.
Second.
Councilmember Sufferton moves approval of the contract just enumerated. Councilmember Newsma seconds. Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. We split the vote at APW on this out of concern that it doesn't meet the responsible bidders ordinance, nor our local hiring or MWDEBE. And I still remain concerned about that, and that's why I voted against that. I think, we really do expect, we unanimously supported the responsible bidders ordinance, and I would like to know that there's more of an effort to ensure that we're doing everything possible to follow those standards. That's all.
Councilmember Sufferton.
And I'll just feel like it's my responsibility as chair to recap the discussion for those who weren't there. There's also concern expressed about putting $550,000 into a building that we've decided that does not suit our needs long term.
Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Davis?
No.
Councilmember Rogers? Aye. Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
No.
With 5 voting in favor and 3 voting against, the motion carries and the contract is approved. Now on item A15, Councilmember Sufferton, do you have a motion?
Sure. I move item A15, which is approval of single source renewal for Cisco SmartNet support for 2025.
Second.
Councilmember Sufferton moves approval of this renewal. Councilmember Newsma seconds. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
I abstain.
Please tell me if I'm screwing this up. I think Councilmember Sufferton has explained many times why he abstains from the Amazon credit card vote, and which is why he doesn't keep explaining it. But I think the rule says that you should explain why abstention occur.
Yeah, I'm happy to. My wife used to work for CDW, so we have a fair amount of stock, and so I need to recuse myself from any vote on CDW.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
With 7 voting in favor, none voting against, and 1 abstention, the motion carries and the renewal is approved. Now on item A19, Councilmember Sufferton.
I move item A19, which is approval of special event for the Walk for Alopecia.
Second.
Councilmember Suffredin moves approval of this special event. Councilmember Nusma seconds. Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. So is this, is there anybody here from Parks and Rec?
They just left moments ago. If Director Thompson is able to hear my voice at this time, if you could return, please. Sorry, it's a weird thing to pretend that like my voice is just broadcast all over the world at the second, but I'm trying.
Okay, well, I mean, of course I support this cause. We have a lot of events at Dawes Park, and we had talked to neighbors about, I guess I would like to have known ahead of time to at least met with the neighbors in case there were any thoughts or input from the neighbors, given that we're holding the folk festival there and a few other events. And also I'm hearing from residents concerns that we stopped with the North Shore Century, which is an Evanston-based, a really popular traditional event that brings people in from all over. They've been booted out of the location and are now hosting that event at Gilson. So, I mean, I'll support this, but I really feel when it's in the neighborhoods of the wards, to have the alderman at least have the chance to meet with the residents who live there to discuss it first is really preferable. And I'd also like to see, I know I've heard so many concerns and complaints about the North Shore Century, which is an Evanston-based, large, successful event, after 38 years having to host in Wilmette. So anyway, I guess there's nobody here to answer questions, but those are my concerns, so. Hi, Ms. Thompson. I don't know if you heard my concern.
I did.
Okay.
Y'all got to me too quick. I thought I had time. All right, Audrey Thompson, Director, Parks and Recreation. What was your question, Councilmember?
So I just, is this the first year for this?
Yes,
It is. Okay. So as you know, we have the Folk Festival, and of course I want to support the cause. It just would be helpful to, when we have special events in this area, as you know, it's not just one resident, but several that I hear from all the time about the additional events. It's not to say we can't do them, but it is helpful to meet with the residents, and sometimes they'll have some excellent input that can go into the approval of it. And I was also mentioning that I also hear from many residents about the North Shore Century that had been taking place for 38 years, wildly popular, an Evanston-based event that's now been booted out and is being hosted at Gilson Park. So anyway, I'd like to have further discussions with you about this and about going forward with special events. Not to say no, but at least to have the opportunity to meet with the neighbors of the area. I think for any special event in any neighborhood, and the lakefront is a neighborhood.
Right. So there are some standards that were provided to the department regarding special events where there are high, medium, and low risk to the neighborhoods. We are not there for the numbers yet that were provided by council some years ago. And so this is a very low key. We were very clear with the event planners that this would need to come before City Council. We've been told that if the loudspeaker permit is an issue, there will not be a loudspeaker permit. And so it's a very low key walk bike. So that's not a huge, I guess, it won't be a huge impact to the community. I'm happy to have more conversation about the North Shore Century ride. My responsibility is to enforce the rules that come along with special events. Unfortunately, sometimes those rules have not been followed in the past. And so my responsibility is to make sure that if there is an event planner and they're having a loudspeaker, that they get a loudspeaker permit, that we go through the application line by line. And so if event planners are not able to abide by that, I do my best not to even bring it to this body.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just asked it going forward. I know it said, I know the Evanston Bicycle Club, it's very local, and that was, like I said, for 38 years. So I do want to have some discussions about that.
Sure.
And this particular one, it says there were local students. I haven't been contacted by anybody locally about this. Again, I support the cause, but it would just be helpful, just going forward, if special events in the neighborhoods of the wards, like I would love to first have that conversation at least, and it's not to say to put a kibosh on it, but at least to be able to reach out to residents in case they have some valuable input. Thank you.
Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
With 8 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries and the special event is approved. Now on item A26, Councilmember Sufferton, do you want to move suspension of the rules?
Sure. I'd love to. I move suspension of the rules on item 826, which is an ordinance amending section 10-11-5D of the Evanston City, Schedule V5D of the Evanston City Code for a 4-way stop at McDaniel and Noyes.
Second it.
Councilmember Sufferton moves suspension of Rule 20.1 so that Ordinance 52-0-25 may be introduced and acted upon in one evening. Councilmember Davis seconds. Would the clerk please take the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
With 8 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries and Rule 20.1 is suspended so that Ordinance 52-0-25 may be introduced and acted upon in the same evening. Councilmember Sufferton, do you have a motion relative to that?
I move passage of item A26, which is a 4-way stop sign at McDaniel and Noyes.
Second.
I second.
Councilmember Sufferton moves passage of Ordinance 52-0-25. Councilmember Davis seconds. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly? Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
With 8 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries and Ordinance 52-0-25 is adopted. Now on item P5, Councilmember Rogers, would you care to move to suspend the rules?
I would move suspension of the rules to allow for introduction and action of Ordinance 53-025, a text amendment to the Plan Development Threshold.
Second.
Councilmember Rogers moves suspension of Rule 20.1 so that Ordinance 53-0-25 may be introduced and acted upon in the same evening. Councilmember Nusma seconds. Will the clerk please take the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
With 8 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries and Ordinance 50 and Rule 20.1 is suspended so that Ordinance 53-0-25 may be introduced and acted upon in the same evening. Now, on the ordinance itself, Councilmember Hadakaris, do you have a motion?
Yep. I have to abstain on this one, so.
I will make the motion.
No, this is, no, we're at piece 5, okay. I move approval of P5.
Council, this is very exciting. There's only 3 motions in the PD section. They're going to be by 3 different people, I'm guessing. It's going to, council observers are going to be very excited. So Councilmember Hadakaris moves passage of Ordinance 53-0-25. Councilmember Nusma, I believe, seconds?
I'll take it.
Sorry, Councilmember Harris seconded. Would the clerk please take the roll? Again, this is the motion. This is now the vote on 53-0-25 itself.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
With 8 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries and Ordinance 53-0-25 is adopted. Now on item P6, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I would move item P6, Ordinance 47-025, approving a minor adjustment to the plan development at 1501 Central Street.
Second.
Councilmember Rogers moves approval of ordinance 47-0-25. Councilmember Nusma seconds. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple points.
Councilmember Davis, followed by Kelly and Nusma.
Yeah, so I'll be making two motions. The first is that I actually do think that maybe we should remove the allowance for nighttime practices. I can't really see much of a reason as to why they can't practice during the day, in order to still practice the sport while being mindful of the neighbors. So that would be my first motion, but my second motion is going to be to table. I sent a communication to, the entire city council, basically expressing my concern about the lack of collaboration and discussion with Wilmette. So in the current plan, and I also have issue with the fact that the plan hasn't been updated, but the current proposal on the table right now says that Northwestern is supposed to request approval from Wilmette to use Isabella Street. And for the city council members who may not be familiar, Isabella Street is the softball field is right on the border of Evanston and Wilmette, and Isabella is the dividing street, and the softball field is right on Isabella Street. And so the current proposal states that they are going to use Isabella Street, but they have to get approval from the city of Wilmette. We put in our intergovernmental agreement when the whole Ryan Field thing went through and the city of Wilmette was upset with us that we would make sure that if any construction happened, that we would that Northwestern would get permission from the city of Wilmette. And so what I am asking is that we be good neighbors and not allow for, the bypass of their request. Because at the end of the day, it's my opinion that I think it really sucks, to be quite frank, to be Wilmette in this situation, because the stadium is right on their border, but they have had essentially no jurisdiction or say in what we've done with that area, regardless of the fact that the city of Wilmette is more impacted than essentially any other part of Evanston that is represented by anyone on this council besides myself. And so, another way of saying, basically, they have to deal with the noise and the lights and the traffic in a way that no one else does. And they've been very shut out of the process as to far. And I'll point out that, I don't think that necessarily what Northwestern is requesting is that unreasonable to use the street, given that there's already construction happening there. But I do think this is indicative of a poor relationship between Northwestern and Wilmette. And I think that on governmental principles, we should not be encouraging this practice of kind of forum shopping. I don't think that's quite the right word, but it's kind of how it feels to me, in which we get permission from one place and not another. I'll also say that I don't think that it's too much so in the spirit of the agreement, what the current proposal is, which is just to use the south side of Isabella Street, which is technically owned by the city of Evanston. I spoke to Dave and Luke about this today, and my other concern is that for my second motion, is going to be a motion to table. I'm making this motion because as of today, I don't think that they've had a full discussion or come to a full agreement or really thought out what they're going to do. It really sounded to me, and it's maybe because I can't quite recall, but I believe it was just a few days ago that this rejection from Wilmette came out. So I don't think they've had time to really evaluate what we'll do next. And I would like more input from residents on our side. But again, I think that good government requires collaboration. And especially in the political climate that we have now, I don't really support animosity or us not trying to at least be a little bit on the same page. And so, so I guess, but my first motion will be to
Councilmember,
make it
do you mind if I just jump in for 1 second?
Sure.
Councilmember, obviously you can make any motion you like. I would like to respectfully suggest that if you're planning to pursue a table, if you'd be willing to just do that so that folks, and then you can send even tonight if you want or tomorrow the language that you would want to amend to be, for council's consideration. But I always get, as you know, nervous when we're like amending things on the fly, and if that's not necessary because you plan to table anyway, I wonder if you'd be willing to just table and then send language around afterwards, but obviously it's your choice.
Okay, I'll do the table first. I'm making a motion to table until the next city council meeting.
I'll second.
Councilmember Davis moves to table this item to the September 8th city council meeting. Councilmember Kelly seconds. And Councilmember Davis, you still have the floor if you want it.
Yeah, those are my main 2 points. I think that, as of today, it didn't seem like they had a strong decision as to what we're going to do with the traffic plan. The current document does not reflect the state in which Wilmette has rejected the traffic plan they intended to pursue. And also, I do not believe there's much of a good reason as to why they can't have their softball practices during the day.
Councilmember Kelly, followed by Nusma.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. If there's a motion to table.
Oh, is this a non-debatable motion?
It's a non-debatable motion.
I apologize.
A motion to hold is not debatable.
Sorry. So with the
I can withdraw it until we all have a discussion.
Okay. Councilmember Davis withdraws her motion. There is at this time no motion before the council, and so we now move on with Councilmember Kelly, followed by Nusma.
Thank you. Yes, I would also like to see this held or tabled. I do think, I have concerns about this being considered a minor adjustment to the ordinance 108-023. This is, in that ordinance, it only contemplates the stadium in one structure, and in no place does it refer to structures or other buildings. And it's not to say I won't support it, it's just to say that I think this really is a major adjustment to the ordinance. It's not like we're tweaking the stadium. And I think, in good faith, that this should go through the Land Use Commission as a major adjustment. So that's one of my main contentions. Also, I've written already to the council and to City Manager Stowe about the truck route. Also, I just want to be sure that we have community engagement about the truck route this time, and about it, just to have an idea as to what the volume might be for this. Maybe it'll be minimal, but just to know ahead of time. And I concur with Councilmember Davis with her concerns. Thank you.
Councilmember Nusma, followed by Suffredin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm wondering if it might be possible to put a map up on the screen of the neighborhood around the softball stadium. And while somebody's working on that, I'm going to share my perspective. I wonder if this would at all be an issue if it weren't for the Ryan Field issue. If it weren't for the Ryan Field issue, I think this would be approved probably on consent, since it seems to be, as even Councilmember Davis admitted herself, the truck route seems to be fairly reasonable. And I don't know if there are any other options that can be considered, but my understanding is the truck route is not proposed to go on Isabella for more than 400 feet. So how many? It's like 5 or 6 houses. And so those houses on the north side of Isabella, those are Wilmette residents. Has anybody talked to them, since they're really the ones that would be impacted? We're not debating a hold because, or a table, because the motion is off the table. But I'm wondering what would change between now and September 8th that would make the situation any different. So, okay, the map is up there. Whoever is got a cursor on that map, could you just show us what the truck route would be? So trucks would come in from the west on Central, correct? Yeah, so.
Sorry to be difficult, but is there a way to have the comments mic'd?
The truck route in would be down Central. This doesn't help very well. then up
So
Ashland.
eastbound on Central from further from Skokie.
They don't come eastbound from Skokie.
Okay. Thank you.
They
That's what
come
I'm asking.
up Emerson.
Come up Emerson.
To,
Okay.
it would be the same route that they use for the current stadium. So they come up Emerson to Sherman, and then up Sherman to Central, then they come across on Central, and turn up Ashland, and then turn down here and come in.
Okay, so just a little bit eastbound on Central,
Yeah.
north on Ashland,
Mm-hmm.
then eastbound on Isabella for a block.
Approximately.
That's whatever that is. Okay.
And when
Now-
they come out, they would reverse that. They would go on the south side to this intersection,
And
then
the
down,
reason they're on the south
and then
side is
over.
because Wilmette has not agreed to let the
Correct.
university use their side of the street.
Correct. And my understanding is the maximum number of trucks was maybe 5 to 6 a day.
For how long? 9 months. For 9 months, okay. And there's no possibility of cutting through going up Ashland and somehow turning off of Ashland before you get to Isabella? There's not really.
No, there really is no way in on this side through here because of the other construction site going on.
Or sneaking in, north of the new Ryan Field. It's not really. a
That doesn't
possibility.
work because of all the work going on around the stadium itself.
Right, and where that, the symbol, the P symbol and the light blue circle,
That-
Ryan Field, like, you can't get in that way because that's the construction
Correct.
site.
Yeah.
All right, so there's really kind of no other way
Yeah.
of accessing this than
Yeah,
Isabella.
because remember, there are all the storage and various things along that edge, so you can't get through. And this is a very busy construction site, and they're actually working, putting utilities in around the stadium. So it definitely has its limitations. You cannot go west, you cannot go east on Isabella because Sheridan and Ridge are no truck routes, and Asbury is very, very narrow, and going down Asbury is really even more disruptive in the
Those
neighborhood.
are our truck routes east. If hypothetically trucks leaving the construction site were to continue east on Isabella, so why can't we do that?
Because we have declared that both Ridge and Sheridan are not truck routes. They're really not designed to handle that type of traffic.
Okay. All right. Nothing further right now. Thanks.
Councilmember Suffredin, followed by Isles.
Yeah, thanks. Coach Ryan.
Followed by David.
Oh, sorry.
No, we're doing first cracks.
I was just going to ask about the need for night practices. If you could explain. Please, that was an invitation.
Great. Night practices aren't ideal, especially in March. It would just have to be out of necessity. So I'm guessing not more than at most once a week. Like if Michigan were to come into town and were to play a night game on Friday, they would get into town and want to spend about an hour in our field on that Thursday before the game. So it would be one-off situations. It certainly wouldn't be something that happens frequently.
Okay. And to Councilmember Davis's concern, and obviously she can speak for herself and on behalf of her constituents, would you anticipate that there's some sort of framework or agreement we could come to for limiting those to?
I think that would be very reasonable.
Okay. I mean, you don't have that.
No, but I'm happy to work with her
We could figure something out.
so that we can build those parameters that everyone is comfortable with, for sure.
Okay. Because I think there's concern that whatever we agree to needs to have pretty clear and enforceable limits on it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, don't leave.
Councilmember Isles.
My question is more about time frame. You'd mentioned it was a tight window to be ready in time for the season. Can you give us a little more detail on that?
Sure. We are hoping with the window that we have projected for construction so that the field will be playable by our home opener, which is March 26th. We don't anticipate that it'll be finished all the way, but enough so that we could host a game there.
So when do you need to start? Like, what would a 2-week delay is that?
I think we're already pretty far behind right now, so I don't know the details of that, but we think that we'll be able to make up some time, or at least be able to work with the construction company to have enough finished so that we can use the site.
So a 2-week delay is significant?
Significant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Don't go away.
Councilmember Rogers.
No, that's fine. You hadn't called on me yet, so I wasn't sure I was next.
One compromise you may want to take advantage of is there's a front row right there. Councilmember Rogers.
How many softball games do you play in a season?
Home games?
Home games.
Average of 12 to 14.
Okay. And those start, you said March 16th, or I'm sorry, March 26th, and run through?
Typically our regular season is the third week of March until the first weekend in May.
Okay.
After the first weekend in May, postseason happens.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. And our games are Friday, Saturday, Sunday, one game a weekend.
At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Davis for a second opportunity with 30 seconds left.
Okay, well, I just want to point out that we're saying that this is only 5 or 6 trucks, but then all of a sudden this is too much traffic for Sheridan or Ridge. I don't think you can have it both ways. The next is that Northwestern is always in a rush. It's not persuasive for me. If they can handle it for a year, they can handle it for 2 years. And the next thing is that regardless of what happens, like, you know, the opinions regarding, well, actually, you know, what I'll say is this. What was our point in putting in the intergovernmental agreement that we were not going to use Isabella for construction if we're not going to keep our word as a city? And Councilmember Newsma, you were on the council at that time, so why are we stepping back from something we already promised a neighboring city of ours?
At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Kelly with 3:55 left.
Unless, do you want to respond, Councilmember? No? Okay. So, and I just want to point out that this is, and I'm not opposed to it, I mean, there are 3-story buildings being built here. And so this really is not minor. And again, I don't think it'll be an issue going through Land Use Commission, but I think we have to understand this precedent and what this is allowed on the U2 zone. So we allow 3 buildings. This should normally go through a Land Use Commission. This is major. There's no way, shape, or form that this is a minor change onto the structure of the stadium. This is a whole building, an L-shaped 3-story building. I'm not opposed to it. Just want to make that clear. But I do feel I do hope this will be held over, and I feel very strongly that this should go through the Land Use Commission. I think it'll get approved, but I think the beauty of that is that we have folks to contemplate it in a focused environment and maybe find some ways to improve the whole project, and as opposed to at council. So that's it. Thank you.
At this time, no one is requesting to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Rogers with 4:50 left.
Thank you. I only used 10 seconds last time. Oh, pretty impressive. Councilmember Kelly, just kind of responding to that, you and I have spoken today about the differences between minor and major. When I was on Land Use Commission, we made changes basically to that system, and the structure was designed in such a way so that if it were something that were a site allowance, it would be considered major. If it were not a site allowance issue, it would be considered minor. We've discussed those terms maybe are not the best terms to use, and also that we did not contemplate at the time a situation in the U2 district. I spoke with Councilmember Davis earlier today, and I hope I'm not giving away the game a little bit, but Councilmember Davis and I have decided we would like to try to talk to city staff to sort of figure out if what's going on in the U2 district, and if that is somehow different than what we anticipated as land use for major and minor variations, typically being on smaller buildings or even some of the larger buildings in town, but on a much smaller footprint. So I'm fine if Councilmember Davis wants to hold this for a couple weeks to work out a few details. But I think this is the process that we have in place. It's not perfect, but we will work on perfecting that in the meantime.
Yeah. So at this,
So, Council, I was going to ask Councilmember Davis if you wanted to renew your motion.
I would please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Davis moves to table this item to the Daniel. You should have seen Dave Davis's face. Councilmember Davis moves to table this item to the September 8th regular meeting of the City Council. Councilmember Kelly seconds. Seeing as this is not a debatable motion, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
No.
Councilmember Isles.
No.
Councilmember Newsma. Councilmember Suffredin.
Aye.
With 4 voting in favor and 3 voting against, the motion carries, and ordinance 47-0-25 will appear on the September 8th agenda. And I just want to reiterate what I said earlier to Councilmember Davis. I appreciate your accommodating my suggestion, and it does sound like, at least on the lighting issue, there's real progress that can be made. And I think if whatever, wherever you guys land as what you think is an appropriate solution could be in writing before the meeting, that'd be helpful to all of us. The next item is item FB1. Would someone care to make a motion to facilitate a discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I would move a FB1, a discussion on revenue considerations and the local grocery tax.
Second.
Councilmember Rogers moves a discussion on item FB1. Councilmember Harris seconds. And Mr. Black, I think we have a presentation.
Yes, we have a few slides we put together. If I can try to make it a little larger. There we go. So yeah, we put together a few slides on the on this item. It's been discussed at Finance and Budget Committee a couple times now. No official recommendation was made by that committee. So we're here tonight to give you a brief overview of the grocery tax and local revenue considerations as a result of it. So the Public Act 103-0781 passed by the state eliminates the 1% grocery tax that had been collected by the state effective January 1st, 2026, but it does allow communities the opportunity to adopt their own local tax. The city of Evanston generates about $2.5 million from this tax each year. It's a very critical source of revenue for the city's general fund. The tax, if the city chooses to adopt it, must be adopted at 1% or 0%, must cover all groceries that are currently subject to the law. We reached out to the Illinois Department of Revenue and they said no partial implementation. Essentially, if they're going to be collecting the tax for us, they want the same set of rules for all communities. In order to adopt a local tax, we must adopt a certified ordinance and send it to the state by October 1st, 2025. That is a tight turnaround. Given our schedule of meetings, it would essentially have to be on the September meeting for introduction and the second City Council meeting for adoption in order to meet that deadline by the Department of Revenue. This slide shows some of our comparable peer communities. There are many, many more listed in the memo, but this shows which communities have adopted the tax. These communities, 7 of these are the comparable communities that the city's Finance and Budget Committee recognized as comparable to the city, as well as 8 neighboring communities that share a boundary with the city of Evanston. Of these communities, 11 have adopted the tax. We've shifted Naperville into the adopted category as they adopted last week after we published our agenda. 4 have indicated that they are likely to adopt. These include Skokie, where their proposed budget for next year does include the grocery tax. Glenview is voting tomorrow, but it did pass an initial vote through the Village of Glenview. Chicago, challenging political environment, but it represents $70 million in revenue. So while it may be up in the air this year as to whether or not they're able to adopt it, it represents a significant chunk of revenue for the city that I think it would be challenging for them to find a way to forgo. And then same for Wilmette. In reaching out to them, we understand that it's more than likely going to be implemented in the Village of Wilmette. The only one where we haven't gotten clear direction is from Bloomington, although they've generally told us that they intend on adopting some revenue in order to replace it because it does represent a pretty significant source of revenue for them as well. So essentially every community in this list we think with a couple exceptions, are more than likely to adopt the tax. This is data from the Illinois Municipal League on communities across the state that have adopted the tax. 454 out of 1,294 communities in the state have adopted the tax. That doesn't seem like too many, but a majority of those non-adopters are smaller downstate communities. When you look at communities with a population of 15,000 or more, 111 out of the 164, or 68%, have adopted the local tax. So certainly communities that are our size, more times than not, have adopted the tax with still a month and some change in order to do so. In the memo, we presented a number of potential alternatives to the grocery tax. Unfortunately, I did not switch here. There we go. City is looking at a pretty significant structural deficit next year. We are in the process of putting together an initial budget proposal, which will be shared in October. But we've, through a variety of sources, are certainly concerned about losing this revenue. It's a critical source of revenue for the general fund. And if the city were to forego this, we absolutely would recommend that we find some way to replace this $2.5 million. The city's been very fortunate the last couple of years. We've had some influx of one-time revenues to really keep our general fund afloat, to the tune of $20 million in permit revenue from Northwestern. But they've indicated that some of those larger projects are more likely going to be put on hold next year, not to the scale that we've seen the last couple of years. Because of that, we would recommend that the council identify some way to retain this revenue. Dr. McGuire from the Kellogg School gave a lot of good points during public comment. Just to build on those comments, 56% of grocery sales in Evanston come from non-residents. 83% of the shoppers at the Jewel Osco on Howard Street are from outside Evanston. About 40% of shoppers at the Whole Foods on Green Bay Road are from outside Evanston. So the grocery tax really, is covered by both residents and non-residents. The average household spends about $66 per year in grocery taxes right now, and that's assuming their entire grocery spend happens right here in Evanston. So that's adopting the local grocery tax would mirror current practice and mirror what most communities across our region are doing. Alternatively, we could look to raise the property tax. A $2.5 million increase to the property tax levy is about $78 per year for a $400,000 home, or about $200 per year for a $1 million home. That option, the burden falls entirely on Evanston residents and businesses. We could take a look at increasing the home rule sales tax by 0.25%. That tax does not apply to groceries, drugs, or licensed vehicles. It may come up just a little short of the $2.5 million target, but it taxes all other goods that are subject to the local retail sales tax. Alternatively, take a look at spending reductions, eliminating programs and services to the tune of $2.5 million. It requires pretty significant cuts to the general fund, potential service impacts or layoffs in order to fill that hole. So with that, we'll open it up for discussion, but we wanted to provide that background at the onset. Thank you.
Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was hoping that Dr. McGuire would have an easy button for us, but sadly that's not the case. And just to kind of summarize my takeaway from her comments, while the grocery tax is regressive, it's kind of the best option we have for several reasons. If we, instead of the grocery tax, we increase the home rule sales tax, that's also regressive. It's less, that revenue is less stable, as consumption patterns change with economic changes. People may buy more or less extra stuff. They're always going to buy food. So what if we, instead of a local grocery tax, increased our property tax levy by $2.5 million to make up for it that way? Downside there is 100% of that tax burden falls on Evanston residents, as opposed to only 45% if we continued the local grocery tax. And at some point, let's be realistic, we're probably going to need to increase the property tax levy anyway for other reasons. Not saying that happens this year, but it's going to happen at some point. And so I don't want to increase the property tax unless and until we have to. So I think the best course of action is to join, the many other communities. In fact, the majority of other communities that have opted to continue the grocery tax at a local level. Also understanding that the fact that SNAP recipients are exempt from the grocery tax, takes away a little bit of the sting of the regressivity. Also understanding that purchases at Aldi and purchases at Whole Foods will be taxed the same. But if you're buying a sirloin steak and some shiitake mushrooms at Whole Foods as a higher income resident, you'll be paying more tax revenue than somebody just trying to get by. So I'm not saying it's a great option. I'm not saying I'm super thrilled with it, but I think the best option is to impose or to continue taxing groceries at the local level.
Councilmember Rogers.
This is, of course, not an easy decision to make. Where I agree that the home rule tax is regressive, I think it is different when you're talking about food versus other things. I have concerns that some of the other things you can kind of choose whether you want or not. Food is one of those things we all need. And I have concerns that with, we've talked a little bit about SNAP and everything, but we all know SNAP is potentially going to be cut, go away, be reduced, whatever, which puts those people who are at the most vulnerable level, who currently are not paying any tax on groceries, to now start paying taxes on groceries. And so my preference out of all of the bad decisions that out of all the bad choices we have is to probably lean more towards the home rule tax, which again taxes regressively, but it's on items that aren't necessarily the necessities of life. Your drugs, your food, licensed vehicles is not really a necessity of life, but the others are.
Seeing no other further discussion, I guess I'll share my view. I can't support this, which puts me in an extremely awkward position of disagreeing with Professor McGuire. It's not a place that I'm not sure if I've been there before, actually. But, this is a deeply, deeply regressive tax. And of the options up there, I mean, we all know how important it is to restrain our property tax to the extent possible, but the property tax is a much less regressive tax than a grocery tax. And so the idea to me of, in a time like this where I literally right before I walked over here, I checked my voicemails and had another voicemail from a person leaving Evanston because of the cost of living, the idea of putting an additional tax on the most fundamental essentials is just not something I can get behind. Councilmember Sufferton.
Yeah, thank you. So the concern that I have, and I appreciate your position, is Evanston residents are still going to be paying grocery taxes in nearby municipalities, even if we also raise property taxes here to make up for the deficit. I apologize, I stepped out during your presentation, but I heard it at Finance and Budget. I mean, you need clear direction from council on what we're going to do, because we need to implement the replacement tax if that's what we're going to do. So I guess my question for everyone up here is, what are we directing staff to do I think we're in an unfortunate situation. Every municipality is in the same one. The money that was the state legislature implemented a tax cut that didn't affect their budget. It affects municipalities. So we have a responsibility to fill the gap one way or the other. And again, raising other taxes won't shield Evanston residents who shop outside of Evanston for groceries from paying grocery tax. So what is the clear direction to staff? Are we going to put a potential replacement ordinance on the agenda for our next meeting and have a vote on that? Or what are we going to do? Because if we play around with it, we're going to miss an opportunity to fill a $2.5 million hole in our budget. So what do you need, Clayton, or my colleagues? What do you want to do? But we're going to have to put this on for action quickly.
Procedurally speaking, I'm not sure if the exact referral or recommendation to do a special order of business on the next agenda, I'm not sure how it makes it on the next agenda as a ordinance for introduction. If the city council were to say to go the grocery route, but I'm open to feedback from legal or others on how we go about putting a topic like that on the agenda in September.
And what is the deadline?
October 1st.
Okay.
So an ordinance would need introduced at the first meeting in September and adopted at the second meeting in September in order to be.
Okay. And that would put us in a must-pass situation in that second meeting in September if we were going to go down the route of
correct
replacing this tax with a local tax.
Procedurally, I must say it was relatively challenging to get a member of city council to be willing to be a referrer on a tax. So we did struggle over the last few months trying to find a city council member willing to refer this tax, because obviously it's, we'd all love for us to not have to do this, but we're in a fairly challenging financial situation where the $2.5 million is important.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give a little procedural, so the deadline for passage of this specific tool to replace the revenue is different than the budget deadline. So I think if the wish of the council is to go forward and do this, then someone should make a motion to create a special order of business for the next council meeting. And if the wish of council is not to do this, which would be my position, then the direction to staff is prepare a budget that finds that revenue in a different way.
Right. Well, I mean, I think this is an unfortunate situation that we're in, but I think the responsible thing to do is to replace this tax with a local tax. And if there are enough people up here who agree with that, then we need to put it on an agenda for our next meeting for introduction and then the following meeting for action. If they're not, then your job, your main gig, just got way harder because you have a $2.5 million hole to fill somehow.
Right.
So
I'll add to Councilmember Rogers' point, the deadline for option 3 is also October 1st. So it would be the same fast track as option 1. The state needs those ordinances by October 1st to implement by January 1st.
So do you want to make that motion?
Well, I mean, everyone's got to decide what they want to do. I mean, because we could put this on an agenda and it fails next week and we're still having to have this discussion. And we have to have it in the context of a larger budget, which isn't going to be great. So, I mean, I think people need to show their cards because we need to know what we're going to do. I mean, this is it's an unfortunate situation that every municipality has been put in. And we have our situation is it's $2.5 million for us. And it's 44% of that is paid by Evanston residents. So if anybody has an alternative that isn't, I'm listening to alternatives, but if there aren't, then we need to get going on doing this at our next meeting for introduction. And I'm happy to make that referral or do whatever to put that on the agenda. Or people got to come up with $2.5 million in cuts or revenue. It's a really stark choice, but it's clear what we need to choose.
Councilmember Kelly.
I guess I'd like what Councilmember Rogers proposed, perhaps something that's less regressive, to know if other options like that as well. Of course, I'm always about trimming where we can find efficiencies, but that's always my first choice. But apart from that, to look at other options, such as what Councilmember Rogers proposed and what that would look like. I guess you were suggesting perhaps to adjust the home rule tax.
He's right, which is option 3, which would also require a special order of business to get put on the next council agenda.
But I think there's probably other options too, right? I mean, I have a feeling that aren't.
It's a big amount of money, and we've gone through all of our major revenues. Our property tax is our number 1 source of revenue to the general fund. Our sales tax is the number 2, and our home rule sales tax is number 3. Our state income tax is up there in the top 4. Building permits are number 5, and after that, it is a pretty stark drop off to the next biggest revenues, making it really difficult to come up with $2.5 million through raising an existing tax. It would, we've looked through them, and this is probably the easiest one to come up with this amount of money.
So I think, aren't there some taxes like Chicago has on the sale of homes? We have it for the seller, right? We get the transfer tax stamps, but I think Chicago also has it for the buyer, for example, right? I mean, I'm just wondering if that's something we could look at.
Definitely something we can look into, but our real estate transfer tax in its best year generated $6 million recently, and that was when interest rates were 2%. So it would take a significant amount of increases to our existing real estate transfer tax structure to generate that amount of revenue. Also, it's a super vulnerable revenue source because obviously as interest rates have gone up over the last 2 years, our real estate transfer taxes have gone down. It's nowhere near as stable as really these 3 revenues that are listed here. So we'd be sort of hoping that we can find some creative way to implement some transfer tax revenue source that stays stable at $2.5 million in revenue. Certainly worth looking into. And that's something that if this were to fail and the grocery tax and the home rule sales tax don't meet the October 1st deadline, yeah, we can certainly take a look at that for the budget.
At this point, no one is seeking to speak for the first time, so we go back to Councilmember Nusma with 2 minutes left.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm seeking for speaking the first time.
Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, what I wanted to ask or talk about is kind of like a lack of, you want to say, intergovernmental agreement where, we're talking specifically about our budget, and I understand that that's where we have the most authority, but when we talk about why we have a lot of issues with taxes as a city in general, it is because of in addition to the taxes that we levy on as a city administration, but also the school board and the library. And I guess what I'm teeing this up to ask city staff, is there any point where we're having joint discussions between all of the different local taxing bodies about what is what the other hands are doing?
City Manager Stowe, I
Does
don't
that
know if
make
you want to
sense?
respond to that.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis, for the question. We do collaborate with some of the local districts on certain things like the purchase of salt and some other shared services. And of course, we have a lot of shared service agreements with the Evanston Public Library. And we do have ongoing communications. I think there's probably some additional room for collaboration on that front to your question.
Okay, and I guess also because when we talk about people complaining about the crippling weight of property taxes in Evanston, I wonder what % of that is us being out of, what do you want to say, us overspending in comparison to other municipalities, or is it an issue with the school district overspending compared to other municipalities? Where is the excess coming from, if there is any? I've seen presentations for us in particular, and I can't quite remember seeing anything too much so of a problem. So I guess what is the general sentiment there?
Well, I mean, the city does provide a wide variety of services. I think it's very service rich here in Evanston. We provide a number of things that many of our neighboring communities don't provide. and we have a fairly similar tax structure as those communities. I hate to rattle off the list of those types of things that we do here in the city of Evanston that other communities don't do. I think those in the city council are well aware of many of those types of initiatives and programs that we do here. If that addresses the question, so if you're asking staff to dig into where there are things that we're spending money on that maybe other communities are not spending on to create more of a financial structural deficit that we talk about, I would look to some of those programs that we do in Evanston that many of our neighbors don't. But yeah, does that answer your question, or is there more to that?
A little bit. I think that maybe this is a discussion I'd like to have with city staff one-on-one to really walk through and get into. So that's a good general answer, though. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I think now no one's requesting to speak for the first time. So we go back to Councilmember Newsma with 2 minutes left.
I guess I would like to hear from the other council members who haven't spoken yet, because, picking up on what Councilmember Sufferton said, we need to give staff some direction. And that discussion needs to happen this evening, and that direction needs to be delivered this evening. This is a tough call, but this is the job we were elected to do. There are, I think, 3 options on the table. I don't think anyone's supporting we close the gap by spending reductions. So let's narrow it down to those 3 options. You can make a strong case for each of those 3 options that are reasonable and justifiable, and nobody's crazy for for preferring one over the other. But we're going to have to make a choice. And so by my count, favoring option number 1, which is continuing the local grocery tax, Councilmember Sufford and myself. Option number 2, which is the property tax, Mayor Biss. And option number 3, imposing instead an increase to the home rule tax, is Rogers and Kelly. Where's everyone else at? We need to give staff some direction.
And right on cue, Councilmember Isles, followed by Harris.
Yeah, this is a really tough decision. Evanston is becoming more and more unaffordable. I do feel like a grocery tax is regressive. But for me, the tipping point, and I think the reason you see so many communities choosing the grocery tax options is because it's the best of a bad lot. The thing that sort of tips it for me is 56% of the grocery money comes from non-Evanstonians, and that SNAP benefits are already exempt. I know that the federal government may cut that, but as it stands now, that's already exempt. We just can't have an additional $2.5 million hole in our budget. And I think some of those other options are going to be things that if we have a $15 million structural deficit, when you show us the budget, those are things we're going to have to do. We're going to have to consider property taxes, and we're going to have to consider cutting services already. So I think I'm going to hold my nose and go for option 1.
Councilmember Harris, followed by Hadakaris.
Thank you, Jonathan, for calling us out. First of all, I just want to say I'm getting a migraine, so if you've seen me rubbing my head, while it might be about chicken and taxes, it's really a migraine coming on. It's a hard decision to make, and I remember being dragged over the coals when I was the only person who said we were going to find ourselves here last year. I was the only one who stood to do that last year, and everybody talked about me and want to whatever. I think the grocery at this point is because it's there, so it levels itself. While it's regressive, there are some safe holds in that. we have an abundance of services that we offer here that people have come to count on and rely on. And I think some of those we will, in essence, have to trim off some of the fat. But I think if we toe this line right now, because I believe there's more coming from higher up nationally that's going to cut even more. So I think we start here. So while none of it is favorable, I think the grocery tax is where I land.
Councilmember Hedekaris.
Yeah, I think we all kind of have the similar feelings, like this is something we, in a perfect scenario, we wouldn't have to do this. The grocery tax is likely the easiest way to replace this revenue because everyone else is doing it. I'm conflicted because even though everyone else is doing it, I don't think it's necessarily the right thing. I do have concerns about, things that have been brought up about SNAP potentially going away. But again, it's paid for, also by outside visitors. So it's probably, I'd be leaning towards that being the least bad option in comparison to the property tax levy, which I'm always concerned about assessments because that's something we have no control over. And, with rising home costs and the stagnation of commercial properties, I'm very aware, for me, that's the last lever to pull. But we really, out of all the four options, I think I'd be leaning towards replacing the grocery tax myself.
At this time, no one is requesting to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Rogers with 3:35 left.
I'm fine, thanks.
At this time, no one is requesting to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Kelly with 4 minutes left. At this time, no one is requesting to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Sufferton with 1:45 left.
Sure. I'm pretty sure we landed on that this will be on the agenda for our next meeting, but I just want to clarify something that Councilmember Newsma said, I think speaking on all of our behalf. Spending reductions will be on the table for the budget. But for this circumstance, we have a $2.5 million hole and a $2.5 million patch available. But I just want it to be clear, I don't intend for spending reductions to not be on the table when we get to the budget proper.
At this time, no one is requesting to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Hedekaris with 3:30 left.
I'll just piggyback on what Councilmember Sufferton said. I'm also thinking we're definitely gonna have to cut something this year, and so we don't want to start with another $2.5 million deficit to start off. So yeah, we definitely will have to do some cuts.
So there still hasn't been a motion. Councilmember Newsma?
What motion would be in order to get this?
To create a special order of business for the next council meeting.
I will make that motion to create a special order of business for the next council meeting for the purposes of introducing an ordinance to continue the grocery tax at a local level.
Second.
Councilmember Newsma moves to create a special order of business on the September 8th agenda to implement a local grocery tax to replace that which is sunsetting owing to state action. Councilmember Sufferton seconds. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Clerk is not here.
Councilmember Davis.
No.
Councilmember Rogers.
No.
Councilmember Hedekaris.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
No.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Isles.
Yes.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin.
Aye.
With 5 voting in favor and 3 voting against, the motion carries, and the special order of business will be on the agenda. I do want to remind folks this is now an item that will require 6 votes, and so it's going to be there's a lot of discussions I think that still need to happen to make sure this is there's clarity on where we're headed. We now go to call of the wards. Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the fellow council members for canceling the last week's meeting so I could participate. I really appreciate it, and it really caused me a lot less stress because I was going to try to make it. If I'm being quite frank, I would have been a terrible council member on that day. So I'm glad none of us had to go through that. But again, I really appreciate it and thank you. And then to my residents, you should keep a lookout for the next newsletter because I will be announcing a ward meeting for sometime in September. That's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Rogers.
Also, I'll be sending out a newsletter next week and having a ward meeting in September as well.
Councilmember Hadakatis.
So I just wanted to make an announcement. We had an important anniversary for a resident in the 9th Ward. This year, Michael Schramm celebrated his family's one-family ownership of a home for 70 years in the ward. And he lovingly calls it the house that George and Helen built. And they built it in 1955, and Michael's been there for 55 years. So real big milestone. It's really great to have longtime residents set roots here, and I think it's a wonderful example to look at while we are discussing housing and how we want our city to be a place where people can set their roots.
Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. First ward meetings have been moved to the first Thursdays of the month, so the next meeting will be Thursday, September 4th, virtual meeting, and then September 10th is the next NU City Committee meeting at 5. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
No report.
Councilmember Isles.
I've got office hours first Thursday, the 4th, from 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. at Brothers K. And I've tentatively got a ward meeting scheduled for September 11th. I just need Lincoln School to confirm. That ward meeting will be about traffic calming.
Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fourth ward meeting coming up September 2nd, Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. at Robert Crown. And September office hours will be Sunday, September 14th, 1 to 3 p.m. at Berry Pike Cafe.
Councilmember Suffredin.
No report.
And now Councilmember Nusma to make a motion.
C1 and 11. Yes. Pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statutes 120/2C, I move that the City Council convene into executive session to discuss agenda items regarding personnel and litigation. These agenda items are permitted subjects to be considered in executive session and are enumerated exceptions under the Open Meetings Act as set forth in 5 ILCS 120/2A Section C1 and C11.
Councilmember Nusma moves the City Council resolve itself into executive session for the reasons just enumerated. Councilmember Harris seconds. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakatis. Aye. Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Isles.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma. And Councilmember Suffredin is not here.
With 7 voting in favor and none voting against, at 8:53 p.m., the council votes to enter an executive session to begin immediately in the council library.